Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to be working on a Okuma reel. I believe it's the Convector. This is a bigger reel. It's the 30D and it has a line counter on it. Turns nice and easy. It's been sent in by Captain Tom. He runs a charter business up in the Great Lakes. And we're going to show you how to take this reel apart, service it, and keep it running for a long time to come. He had provided me with the handles, which kind of came off. He kept them off for shipping purposes. So we're just going to start by assuming that you know how to take the handle off. If you don't, there's a nut cap, a nut, and then the handle sits on top of that. We're going to remove the exterior pieces and parts. We're going to show you the interior pieces and parts of this. I'm going to show you how to service this reel if you have one. While I take off some of the exterior parts, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. And if you do subscribe to my channel, please use that notification button. That notification button will let you know when I'm posting videos, what they are about. This one's a saltwater or a Great Lakes trolling reel. And, well, others can be freshwater, can be bass reels, can be low-profile bait casters, closed-faced. You never know what's going to show up in the shop. And essentially, you are looking over my shoulder in the shop as I work on these reels. So subscribe, take a look at what's being posted, and well, watch the ones that you think apply to you. Well, I'm taking out the 6 screws or the 5 screws that hold this case together. And I'm making sure that they're all the same size. If they're not the same size, I do note where the long or the short or the thin or the thick or whatever the variance might be in a screw. I do notice where they go so that when it's time to reinstall, I know where they are. I also recommend that you take pictures along the way, particularly if you're not familiar with the reel and their setups. Those pictures will be invaluable in helping you to see the orientations of parts, where they go, the sequence that you remove them, and things like that that'll get you back on track if you get lost during the reinstall. The screws are out. There's 2 tension washers on the post here. I think that they'll probably come out. Probably see if we can't remove them right away. When I take my pieces and parts off, they go into a parts tray. That parts tray, well, that's my way of keeping track of what I'm removing. And I would encourage you to have a process for keeping track of yours. It doesn't have to be the way I do it. Mine's kind of organized chaos. But you know, some people like to lay them off on a paper towel or something in the order that they were removed, and that way they kind of reverse the sequence to put them back together again. That's fine. Whatever works for you. All right, they're off. Those 2 shim washers are off. We should be able to remove the side case now. And I just had somebody asking me about the reinstall of a Cabela's reel. They're very similar to this, so we'll show you the install on this one as well. Before I do that, I might as well just take care of this case. It's got very heavy line on it. It may be leaded line. I'm not quite sure if it is or not. Kind of feels like it. And well, we're going to bring this off. I'm going to tie this off with a rubber band so that that tag end doesn't get caught when I go to reassemble. While I have the case open, I'm going to examine the idler gear here to make sure that all those teeth are in good condition. You got something sticking here. I'm not quite sure what that is. There you go. I'm not seeing anything that's injured. Let's put this back in. And Captain Tom's had some reels, a group of them. You probably saw them in the previews. He's had a couple of reels where the line guide pawl has been sticky. So we're going to take this off, take a look at that as well. Now, if you take the cap off, and sometimes you can just simply turn the reel, sometimes you need to just kind of tap it to work it down. Friction will work, gravity will work, and once you get enough, you can remove that. And I think I see the same thing here that I've been seeing with some of the other reels that he's sent in. We have a very dirty line guide pawl. So I'm going to reattach the spool here if I can. It's just being stubborn at the moment. And I want to make sure that we clean up the tracks of the worm gear. I'm going to use a penetrating oil for that. I'm going to use a soft bristle brush. I'm just going to pull through to help flush that out. Turn a reel to rotate that worm gear a little bit. And every now and then the old greases and dirt get stuck up in there, so just take a moment to clean that up. And then the problem he's been having on some of these reels is that the shoulders here, and I can see it here as well, the shoulders here are accumulating this dirt, and while it may not look like much, it's just enough to slow the reel down and trap those prongs when they go to make a turn in the worm gear. Okay, just take a moment here, use that same brush to brush this off. I'm going to grab a paper towel to clean that off, and we'll go over to the gear side there, show you how that one works. Those of you that know the Shakespeare Tidewater series of fishing reels, the Tidewater 30s, and there was a level line one in there called 30L, I believe. If you know those reels, this is pretty much an exact copy of that reel, which is kind of weird because these two companies were competitors. Okay, just been working to try to get this in. It's a little tough, but there you go, it's back in. Now I use some penetrating oil on this to clean it. That spool just doesn't want to stay in, does it? I cleaned that worm gear with some penetrating oil. I don't like that as a lubricant. I'm going to use fishing reel oil on that. We can set that aside. Let's go over here to this one then. Now, of note, you do not need to disassemble your line counter or anything like that. If it's working, that's all you need to know. We're going to take the micro screwdriver and pull this E-clip off here. It's kind of like stage one. That E-clip comes off. That goes into my parts tray. Underneath that E-clip, you're going to notice that we have a shim washer. That always gets stuck. So you have that shim washer. And then we have 3 screws that are holding the bridge plate in. This is where it gets a little funky, because things are going to start to just come apart. So maybe you're watching this because you have this reel and, well, things have come apart. Remember that the installation process is the reverse of this. So just keep in mind that the last thing's on is this base plate here. I get that question frequently. Folks have taken this reel apart and trying to figure out how to get the anti-reverse dog back in. Well, that anti-reverse dog has to go in before this plate. And some of them assume that maybe it's like the pen ones where you twist. All right, those 3 screws are all the same. I'm going to hold this assembly up top here now. We should be able to remove that. Chances are your anti-reverse dog may come out with this. That's okay. Just expect that. There's a stud right there that's going to be that anti-reverse dog stud. Just going to hold it in its case. All right, good. I was able to do this without much of an issue. Notice on this side that you do have 2 stamped ramps. That's the inside of this, just in case you were prone to flip it over. And when you go to reinstall, this is a little bit off, but when you go to reinstall, that anti-reverse dog has got to be flush with this ratchet. It can't be on top of it like you saw there. Next up then comes the removal of that small little screw holding our jack on. Again, take pictures. That was a good place, a photo op right there. That was a good Kodak moment, if you will, when you open that up. Now you can remove the jack. You can see how it just rests on top of the yoke assembly. Then our yoke and our pinion gear come off. Two big screws or springs underneath that. They go on these posts. Now you can push that anti-reverse dog up and out of the way. You don't need to remove that. You can. And we want to get to this because the captain said that these are kind of sticking. Kind of interesting. Well, one of the causes of stick is usually dried greases and oils. So I'm going to come in here and do it. Yeah, look at that. Okay. There's a chance that that's the cause of the stick right there. There was an accumulation of about a 1/16 of an inch of old grease right where that main piece is going to draw. Let's get that off on the side. And so much about real repair is simply cleaning, inspecting, getting rid of the old greases, bringing in new fresh greases. I would say it's probably been a little while since this reel's been serviced. We've got very dried grease here. You can see how I'm just kind of scraping it up there with a micro screwdriver. And anything like that is going to impair performance. So just make sure that as you're doing this, you don't leave that stuff behind. Okay, that's in pretty good condition there. Invariably, this will fall off before I get done. Let me continue to leave it there. Let's take a look at our main drag assembly. This does have an instant anti-reverse on it. This is the inner sleeve. You want to make sure that's dry. And then let's find out why it's got a stickiness to it. Let's remove the shim washer. And here's where I'm going to kind of do what we said some folks do. Just kind of line them up the way they came off. This should be able to push that off. We have our drag washer underneath and our post. The post has that ridge in it where that C-clip is going to hold it. That can go back on. That's clean. All right, let's take a look inside. I'm going to push the drag washers out, see if I can see anything additional in terms of why this might be sticking. Yeah, so this one's stuck right to the bottom, and that could be a reason. I'm just going to try and find yet another small screwdriver here. You want to be careful with these washers. All right, so we have hard washers. The hard washers, I know they're all pretty much stuck together, so yeah, I'm going to agree with Captain Tom here. These are definitely sticky. The hard washers can be oiled. They're non-permeable, so to some extent they can run dry. And you're going to notice on those three washers that I took off that there's one that has a big circle and then two have lesser circles. The two that I took off that have the lesser circle are the top ones. The bottom one needs the bigger circle because there is a ridge here. Well, because he's saying that they're sticking, I'm going to just put a light coating, very light coating of fishing grease on the inside. It's the same grease that I'm going to use to grease the teeth of this. I'm going to do that right now. There's obviously a lot of friction on those washers there. One of the things you can do to stop them from sticking is after you complete your fishing trip, you can back off the tension on the drag washers. It's a good way to store the reels. If you don't do it that way, what you run into is a possibility that the washers can dry out with grease onto the metals, and well, then they stick like we saw there. Again, just the lightest coating of a little grease. It's not going to get you in any trouble doing that. We're going to alternate now. We're going to alternate the keyed washers, but remember, one of these has a bell to it. It's not a flat washer, so that's the top one. The one that is completely flat, look at this, we have, I guess that's scarring, that's not grease. Okay, okay, after you put that bell washer in, then we have a flat washer. Then we have that inner washer for your anti-reverse clutch. And you can either put the clutch on there or you can put the clutch into the side plate. I'm going to put that clutch into the side plate. If you didn't notice, one side's got a plastic bottom, the other side's got a metallic top, if you will. The metallic faces out. Again, another way to just kind of keep your orientations correct. We can take that assembly, bring that in now. And with that in, we'll make our next steps here. We have the two tension washers, they face up and down. First one, the belly faces up. The second one, the belly goes down. You know, that little star adjuster comes next. This is where we're going to leave that right now. We're just going to make sure that that star adjuster gets on there. That's going to hold my main gear assembly in place for the balance of this work that needs to be done. What I want to do now is take this anti-reverse and flip that. There's a stud on the bottom of this. It needs to go into the hole here. Flying a little blind here, and then again, as I mentioned earlier, make sure you tuck that so that this is flush here. Next up, we want to put the two springs on for our pinion gear assembly. One on each post. I'm going to lay this down for a moment because we haven't addressed the pinion gear yet. You want to clean that pinion gear and the yoke. This one's devoid of grease, so it's clean. If you like, you can take the brush and just brush it off. Again, inspect the channels inside the teeth, the little valleys. Get your grease out and apply a good coating of grease. And you want to make sure that you get grease onto the shoulder of the yoke as well. Called a yoke because, well, it looks like the yoke that you traditionally use with an oxen team. Okay, two sides to your pinion gear. The slotted side is going to face you. You're going to bring this over. Bring it on top of your two studs. Push in. The next part of the assembly then is your jack. The two prongs face down, one on each side of your assembly. Again, hopefully we don't disrupt anything as I put that in because there's that small screw. Then it's going to hold it in its place. And well, I kept my small pieces and parts in that parts tray just so I didn't lose them. We're going to put that screw in place. And now we have a functional drag system, or I'm sorry, free spool release system. And now you wanted to pay attention, make sure that that's flush and not like that. I just kicked it up, of course. What I like to do when I do this now is push up on the star adjuster. That raises that up so you don't get that same kind of issue, because we got an issue with it popping out of that little hole. So you need to just be patient with this. Trying to accomplish a couple of different things. I think we got it that time. All right. We're going to kind of hold it like that. And we want to put our plate on now. The plate goes on the two screws, the stud for your anti-reverse, and then everything can be pushed down at that point. And bring in the main gear. Now that main gear, this plate circle here is not completely round. There you go. It has two flat sides to it, which is hard to see. But it has a flat side here and a flat side there. Same thing with the base of your assembly here. And what you need to do is you need to merge it so that it is flush here. All right, I'm almost done with the trying to hold everything together thing. I'm going to put this over where that anti-reverse is right now, because generally speaking, that's the hardest one. Start your second screw, bring that in. Then I think it's safe to put that E-clip on, because I keep putting a lot of pressure in and out on this. I think I want to hold that in at this point. So grab that E-clip, bring that over. There's the shim washer underneath it. And we have that clip. Clip goes in the groove. And sometimes you can do this by hand. Sometimes you need a little assist. With the pliers, I'm going to assume I need that assist. And that's your clip. Now we can get that last screw in. We should be good. So I think we did see a buildup of grease and some stuck washers, which Captain Tom told me all about. So I think we probably have solved that with a little bit of grease and the cleaning up of those metals. All right, now we want to make sure we tighten all of these down. We should be able to spin this and get a nice look at what's going on now. Anti-reverse is working. You can see it moving here. Gears are turning. Let's bring this to the free spool position. This should kick it back. It does. We've already taken care of the line guide, the spool. We can put a little bit of grease onto the axle shaft of the spool. Let's line this up again. So this little tag end here, that's the drive for your line counter. So just kind of eyeball that up. Try and locate your holes. And then what I like to do is I like to turn this by hand to make sure that I've got the line counter turning before I go put the screws in. Sometimes you can trap that line counter and damage it. So just make sure that before you do that, it's turning free and easy. Okay. One on the bottom, or on the top rather, next one on the bottom. I like to alternate kind of in an X pattern to make sure that this is holding tight and that I don't warp the case by putting them all in kind of a circle. Bring it over to the side here, do this one. And again, I'll apologize for not having the handle for the test. It's in the box. But I don't need the handles to make them work. And, well, I'm just going to leave them there. All right, two more. Make sure they're nice and tight. These are going on a boat. Boats have a reputation for a lot of vibration from the engines. They can shake those screws free, and then you start losing them. So just make sure as you finish installing all of them that you go back, make sure that you have them all tight. Okay, well, I think we're ready for a test here. Let's get a couple of the tools off the bench. While I'm doing that, I want to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, rescue, all the folks that are working on our behalf to keep us out of harm's way. And I want to thank you, the viewers, for well, making this channel everything that it is. I appreciate your loyalty, your dedication, and well, your knowledge and the information that you pass on. Okay, here we go. We've got I believe this is the Convector. I could be wrong with what the name is, but it's CN. I'll know before I go and post it. Let's kind of reset that. Turn to make sure that it is collecting. It is. You can see the numbers moving. Turns nice and free and easy, even without that handle. Free spool. Just checking on the lining, make sure nothing's trapped. And again, we notice that it kicks back. That's it. That's how to take apart and service the Okuma CN30D with the line counter. I hope you've enjoyed that. I want to wish everybody a great day as I put the handle net back on. Thank you for watching, and good luck fishing. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle.